What's up guys, it is me, Mad Samurai 84, doing another video of my eShop deal reviews. Now this is all the games I picked up on the offers page in April. I picked up a few, I picked up a lot in March. I managed to snag a couple more deals which I thought were interesting. So I thought I would go through all my pickups for April and just give them a little review and a little kind of value score of how I felt like of what I paid for it. So I'll be talking about that, and I'll also be telling you what mode I preferred it on, handheld or docked. And I've taken all the things into consider, whether it looks better, it plays better, the touch screen, if it has like touchscreen controls and all that jazz. Anyway, let's jump into the first pickup that I got in April. Now, my first pickup was the Syberia 1 and 2 collection. I've never played any of these Syberia games, so I thought, oh, why not? I got it for £1.50, which was about 95% off. Its non-sale price was $29.99. I thought, why not? I'll give it a go. I've never played these games. I've always seen them always being re-released. So I thought, you know what? Why not? I'll jump in. You know what? I'm only currently I think I'm about a third of the way through the first one. I haven't touched the second one, so I'm going to be mainly talking about my experience of the first one, because I don't want to jump into the second one without finishing the first one. But so far, kind of enjoying it. The controls are half decent. There's no real touchscreen controls, which I thought there was going to be. As soon as I started the game, it said, because I always start playing handheld, it said touch the screen to open the menu. I was like, oh great, it's got touchscreen controls. That's really about it. Just to get through the start menu and to skip through dialogue, that's it. So I was a bit disappointed that there wasn't really any touchscreen controls in this game. But the controls in general, using the normal Joy-Cons and even like a Pro controller, it works fine. It is what it is. It handles quite nicely. The voice acting in this game is pretty good. And if you don't know what Syberia is, it's like one of those kind of like graphic adventures, a bit like a point and click, but not quite like a point and click. You have to kind of discover the mystery in a town and get to the bottom of it. And so far, it's been quite interesting. It is a nice one. Like the original Syberia, when did it come out? It came out like 2002. I'm pretty sure. 2002. It was all released on the PS2 and original Xbox, and you can actually really tell that it's still from that era, because they haven't really updated the visuals that much. They haven't changed in the past 20 years. The character models still look PS2 era, even though they've kind of slightly cleaned them up, but they haven't really done much to it at all. The pre-rendered backgrounds, they look all right for the most part on the handheld, but when you put it on docked and look at it on a TV screen, they start to look blurry and really outdated. So it doesn't look that great. And I did notice some issues when you just play it, like when you're like walking around. When you walk into some like a pre-rendered backgrounds, it's like a weird collision. Sometimes it looks like you're walking through or walking up a wall. So it's really, really odd. One thing that annoyed me was you do a lot of back and forth, and there's no quick travel. So sometimes you have to walk here, then you have to walk back there, then you finally got to have to walk back there, and if you get lost, you're kind of going back and forth, so it's a little bit annoying with that. Also, another little kind of pet peeve I found with this game was that there's no like widescreen. Even on the handheld, it's shrunk down to like a 4:3 type screen, so there's like borders on the side, which I don't get why they've done that. I'm not sure if it's like that on Syberia too, but on the one, it's like, come on, surely you could have tried to sort that out. Also, within the first like 20 seconds of playing the game, I found this really crazy bug where you have this notepad when you kind of speaking to people, and you select options of what you want to talk about. God knows what I pressed, but I managed to kind of have like 3 notepads like all layered upon one another, and it was just a crazy little bug, but I haven't been able to reproduce it, so it was something super random. And also, when trying to move from area to area, it can be a little bit hard work because you have to find like the correct slot to transition to the area. So it's like a kind of limited, like small doorway which you have to go through to move on to the next screen. You can just get caught on like, it can even be a lamppost and stuff like that, which is a little bit annoying. But the game itself is actually playing quite well, and the story itself is quite nice. And I'm very much enjoying this game. Definitely, it's going to be a game I'm going to play through, and it's really enjoyable. When I look at the Metacritic for the first one, it's got a Metacritic score of 76, which is pretty good. And from my experience of playing it, you're like, oh, that's a pretty close score. And then I look at the Metacritic score for Syberia 2, it's a bit lower, it's sitting at 68. So I'm like, oh, okay. Sequels can't always be as good as the first ones, but it's close enough. But yeah, I'm actually quite surprised at how much I'm enjoying this, and it's actually even more crazier because I bought this for £1.50 with 95% off. But when I was kind of going through the offers page, I saw like Syberia 1 and 2 like individually, and they were going for like £2.50. They were going for more individually than as the pack of 2, so I made quite a bit of a bargain, I feel like, for this too. So I think for my game score, I think I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. I know I haven't played the second one, but I'm very much quite enjoying the first one. It does have a few issues. It is a bit slightly outdated, but the game itself is pretty good. So I'm going to stick with a 7 out of 10. My value score, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think there's a lot of value here for what I paid for it, considering when I saw the individual ones going for more than the double pack. So I feel like I got a pretty good bargain there. So I'm very happy with that one. Now, if I was to pick, a handheld or dock for this game, I think I would have to go with handheld, just because when you put it on a big screen, it starts to look blurry. But yeah, I'll stick with handheld. Right, now we've done this one, let's get on to the next game. Now, my second pickup for April was Urban Flow. I paid £1.30 for this. It was 90% off. Its non-sale price was $13.49. Now, I have to say, I have enjoyed every second I've played this game. So basically, Urban Flow is like a traffic flow simulator in a way. Basically, you've just got to do the red light and green light, stop and go for the intersections to let the flow of traffic just go peacefully. And you have to get, X amount of cars through safely to get a higher star rating, so you can progress through to the next round. But this game, it has great touchscreen controls. I only play it touchscreen controls, because yeah, the button controls are good until you have to press more than one button together to change a light, so it gets a little bit fiddly. Even if you're using even a handheld, when you're just using the Joy-Con controllers, or if you're using a Pro controller, it just gets a bit all fiddly, and you kind of get a little bit lost with the buttons. But when you're using touchscreen, you just literally tap in the lights, go, stop, go, stop. It's really great. It's got lovely looking graphics. It looks great on the Switch. It has a great soundtrack, some lo-fi, hip hop sounds. It's really nice and mellow to just sit back and listen to while you play it. It's got plenty of levels to play. I think there's over 100 levels, and then there's a load of then there's DLC you can buy, which I may be tempted to if I get through all the levels. But yeah, it's really, really fun to play. The multiplayer, it has a multiplayer function where you can have, I think, up to 4 people who you're just directing traffic. So, one player will control these lights, another player will control these lights, another player will control those lights. So it gets a bit chaotic, which is probably the fun, because you need to kind of stay in, you need to talk about, all right, I'm going to get these people to go, all right, I'm going to stop, you get those people to go, so you don't make any crashes, so you can get as many cars through. It is fun, but it is very, very chaotic. But, a lot of fun. And the Metacritic score for this game is 80, which, yeah, I can, that's pretty good, really, because the game score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a great game. I'm going to give a value score of 9 out of 10. I think for what I paid for it, it's got so much value to play. It's just so fun to play. And is it good on handheld or dock? Which one's better? It's handheld all day. It's those touchscreen controls that are perfect. They work so well, and it just makes it just so fun to play. So handheld for this game all the way. My third pickup for April was Serial Cleaner. I paid £2.24 for this. It was 85% off. Its non-sale price is $14.99. Basically, this game is you play this character who is basically a cleaner of crime scenes, basically, of especially murders. So you'll get into a level, and you've basically got to pick up the bodies and remove them, clear the blood up, get the murder weapon, and get it out while avoiding police detection. It is a fun game. It controls very nicely. It controls very, very well. The visuals are very pleasant. It's got a very good art style. It's basically simple gameplay, simple controls. It all works very, very well. It starts off really fun, but as you get along, it gets a little bit samey. It feels like there's a little it doesn't really feel like there's much progression, from what I've it's you don't get any star rating of all right, I've got to try do this fast, or to do this and do that, so you can try and get a better score. But it's a real fun game. And one thing that kind of has slightly annoyed me is when there's text boxes that appear, they're not properly highlighted, really. So that when they appear up, if there's on the background, if it's light and dark, it will do the shading. So you'll see a light part of the box and a dark part of the box. And sometimes you won't be able to really kind of read the text correctly because of the different shading. I don't know why they didn't pick that up and make it just when the text box appears, it's very, very visible, but it kind of goes by the lighting in the background, which is a bit silly. And also, I managed to crash the game. I just played with it, and it kind of booted me out. But anyway, still having quite a lot of fun with it. It is quite good. So when you look at its Metacritic score, it is sitting at around a 75, which is probably, about right, really. Because I'm going to give this a game score. I'm going to give it a 7. And as a value score, I'm also going to give it a 7 out of 10. So game score 7 out of 10, value score 7 out of 10. Now, handheld or dock mode, I preferred it on both, really. I liked playing it on handheld and docked. Maybe even a little bit more docked than handheld, but it's very enjoyable and plays well on both. I can't really say which one I prefer, but both are very, very good. My next pickup is the Swords of Ditto, Mormo's Curse. Now, I got this for £6.74. It was 50% off. Its non-sale price was £13.49. Now, this is basically a Zelda-like game. You are basically this little get called Mormo has taken over the land, and you go to vanquish him, and he kills you. And then 100 years later, this little stag beetle comes up to who you are going to be taking control of and tells you that you are the hero and you have to defeat him. Her. So what you have to do is basically go around, defeat a load of enemies, go do some dungeons, and build up your level, and then go into her castle and basically take her out, really, and free the land. And then once you've done that, which technically doesn't take too long, it kind of resets itself like another 100 years in the future, and the world slightly changes. But you kind of just rinse and repeat. The enemies are a bit harder, things are in different places, buildings look a bit different, and everything changes slightly, but it's virtually the same. Just the same game, you're just defeating Mormo again. But I have to say, this game has a beautiful graphical style. The art style is just superb. It's just amazing to look at. The level design is great. The dungeons do become, a little bit samey after you've done about 3 or 4 of them. But they're good. And one thing I loved was the enemy design. There's so many different types of enemies, and basically an interesting selection of what they have done. And as you just get onto the new playthroughs, there's new different type of enemies that appear. So you'll have zombies, you'll have brains, you'll have these eyeballs, you'll have this and that, and it's really good. And it's got simple controls and simple combat, but they work very, very well. You have your specials, you have your normal sword. You can also get upgrades, and you can get changes to your specials. It's really, really good. I did find the story is slightly weak. It's not really. It's not too great. It's just basically. That's happening, and then it's not like this amazing quest you go on. Really, it's just go around, defeat a load of enemies, and level yourself up. It's not like a Zelda. There's no real. There are little side missions, but there's no real side story. There's no real substance to the story, I felt anyway. But it is a very nice and fun game. But once I completed my first run, I started doing a little bit of the second one. I didn't really feel like there was much point to do it again, because I felt like it's just a rinse and repeat. Is there an actual end to this game? I don't think there is. And I did see there was a physical version going through special reserve games, and I was tempted to get a physical copy of it before I actually even played this game because I just love the art style. But I'm kind of glad I didn't pay all that money for a physical copy of it, because even though I've kind of enjoyed this game, I just feel like maybe it actually wasn't worth getting a physical copy for it. But, you know, just purely for the art style is just amazing. This game is it's scored kind of well. It's got a Metacritic. It's sitting at about a 76 on this Switch. So it's fairly. It's got kind of above average reviews. So my game score for this is going to be a 7 out of 10. My value score is going to be a 5 out of 10. Because I just don't feel like. I feel like, yes, it's good, but I would have been more happy if I paid less for this game. Now, handheld or docked, this is a tough one because, you know what, it controls and looks amazing handheld and both, so it's neither here or there, so play it on whatever way you can, really, because it plays and looks beautiful on both. So I'm going to stick with both. I'm going to be greedy. Fifth pickup for April was Party Hard. I paid £6.74 for this. It was 50% off. Its non-sale price was £13.49. Basically, in this game, you are playing the killer. Basically, you've just had enough of the loud parties that happen, so you decide to go to these parties and basically kill everyone in the party. But you have to really strategize how you do each party, because you can't just go out and just start killing everyone, because they will just call the police and you'll be arrested. So you have to basically use your wits, kind of wait for people who are on their own, and basically not be seen, but also there's kind of things around the level where you might be able to set off an explosion, kind of set traps to basically try and kill people. And then you can also, once you've killed people, you can also dump bodies, so but don't get caught, of course. So you kind of don't raise any suspicion, because you can raise suspicion. I was playing this game, playing at a level, and I thought I was fine. I hadn't really been doing anything. I was just dancing, because there is a button where you can just hold and boogie, and you do get a lot of flack from people sometimes when you have a little boogie. And the police have come and arrested me, so they arrested me because of my terrible dancing. But it's got a great pixel art style. It does look really good. It's got a simple control scheme. They work very, very well. It's a very challenging game. You will be either dying or be getting caught and basically repeating a level. So because there's a score and you've just got to get through the level, not as quick as possible, but you've just got to try make either whether it's like a combo or just try to get through the level and kill people in as many gruesome ways as possible. But yeah, I had a really, really fun time with this game. It is quite an interesting concept, and there is a Party Hard too, because where this is a pixel and the other one is more of like a slightly 3D-esque, I think it is. It looked pretty good, but I was going to wait. I was going to get through this and wait for it to come back on sale but at a lower price, because it looked interesting. And I do like the different ways you can kill people. Really, you can take out these party goers. You can either go, if there's a car or a go-kart or whatever, you can kind of fiddle with it so it drives into a crowd. You can set off a a speaker, you can poison the food, this and that, so you can do all different things to try take out. And if you die and kind of restart the level, the kind of the hazards, let's call them, they can change on the level, so they won't always be the same, but it can be more or less very similar throughout on every replay of that level, but things can change. But yeah, it's really good. Really enjoying it. It probably does maybe get a little bit repetitive after the first couple of levels, but it's still very actually fun to play. It has kind of it has quite a good music. I think it's set in the 80s, I'm pretty sure. So it has a nice kind of good it's good music when you're at the parties. But yeah, it's an interesting concept for a game because everyone's been there when there's been a party next to you or near you that's been too loud at a silly o'clock in the morning, and you kind of think, can't all those people just go away and die? I'm trying to sleep. So you can understand why he's gone it through his little craziness. But there's an interesting little kind of story happening. So in between each level, you get a little cutscene about a detective who's basically after you, the killer, and it's pretty good. And the voiceovers are pretty good. A little bit cheesy in a way, but it's supposed to be like that. It is really good. And when I look at its Metacritic score, it's sitting at a 75. Its user score is at 8.4. So you know what, you can actually really understand that because it is actually a pretty fun game. It is rather tough to play. So my game score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, but I'm going to give a value score of 6 out of 10. I feel like it is really good, really enjoy it, but I feel like it's still quite a bit I paid for the enjoyment I'm getting out of it. Good game, but I feel like I feel like if it was 75% off, I feel like that would definitely be an 8 out of 10, but at 50% off, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Now, handheld or dock, I was thinking it was going to be handheld only because of the art style. I usually find this art style kind of looks a bit stretched and a bit horrible on big screen. But when I was actually playing it on a Pro controller, I think I actually preferred using the Pro controller on this game, and it looked really good on the big screen. So you know what, I'm going to go for docked on this. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, docked for party hard. My sixth pickup for April was Shift Happens. I paid £1.34 for this. It was 90% off. Its non-sale price was £13.49. Basically, Shift Happens is basically a cooperative platformer. You can play it on your own, but you can also play it with a friend. And in this game, you kind of take control of two jelly type creatures called Bismo and Plom, and you have to basically just get through the level working together, going from big to small, switching from one to the other, jumping on platforms, moving up and down, throwing a small guy somewhere, this and that, collecting the little kind of little orbs, and just trying to get through the level to get a high star rating. It's a nice game. It's got a nice visual design. It's a simple yet challenging level design. Really, you think, oh, it's very simple, but it's actually quite challenging to get through some of these levels, especially when you're trying to get all the orbs, because they will be hidden. But yeah, it's simple enough to get through a level, but it's really challenging to go for all the stars, and especially trying to get the time trial star. That is very hard. The controls work well for the most part, but they could have been better in single player, probably using the analog stick for the character instead of having to constantly stop, because you have to press left to go to one of the characters and right to the other. But it would definitely help with the fluidity of the game especially when you're going for the time trial. If you could, if you use a analog stick for each one of the characters, and it gets a little bit annoying because you have to go left to one and right to the other. If you just needed to just tap it once to change, really, because it does get a little bit annoying when you're supposed to press right but you're pressing left. It is a little bit annoying. But you can see this game probably shines its best at playing it in 2-player, which I haven't yet done yet, but it's still rather fun in single player. It is a fun game to play, and on Metacritic, it's not really much sitting on Metacritic for the Switch. It's got a 90 from Nintendo World Report. It's got one user review sitting at 6, so there's not really much out there. On Steam, it's got a 9 out of 10, and you can kind of see that. But on the Switch, it is nice, but I feel like the controls slightly hamper it from being really, really good. So I'm going to give this a game score. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But my value score is going to be an 8 out of 10 because I feel like it is very fun. I did get a 90% off on it, so it is good for the value I paid for it. Handheld dock. I personally prefer to play this in handheld. It is good on dock, but personally I just preferred it on handheld. Just for that. The next pickup for April was Family Mysteries Poisonous Promises. I paid £1.34 for this, 90% off. Non-sale price was $13.49. Now this game is basically one of those. It's basically more or less one of those hidden object games, really, with some other puzzle elements. And you know what? For this game, I expected, you should and would expect to have touchscreen functionality, and for some reason, this game does not have that at all, which I don't get, really. You would think there would be something, really, especially when you're looking for the hidden objects. You would think you would have to just tap the screen, really, when you use it in handheld, but no, you have to move your little kind of circle over and click. It didn't make any sense. It's a rather cheesy detective story. The character animations are pretty poor and are really funny to look at, because you look at it and you're like, oh god, what is this all about? The overall gameplay is simple, yet a little kind of mind-numbingly entertaining to a certain extent. But even without the touchscreen controls, the game's controls are pretty smooth for the most part of it. Some of the puzzles aren't that fun to play and seem a bit pointless. The game does not pause during cutscenes, so if you kind of just basically went to the home menu during a cutscene, which I did, and when I went back into it, it was into the game. I was a bit like, oh, okay, so you don't pause it or anything, which was rather annoying. The game itself and the whole is pretty short, but once you finish it, you kind of you feel like you should have been playing something else, really. But once you've completed the main story, there is a little kind of bonus case, which is pretty short, which is basically a prologue, really, of kind of what happened before the main case, and I did kind of come into basically a little bug. So if, like me, you press the phone icon, which basically sent me down to the tutorial, for some reason I went through it, I was able to back out to carry on with the case, really. So I had to kind of go back to the main menu and restart the case, which was rather annoying. I don't know why. But yeah, the prologue felt like rather pointless, didn't really add anything to the main story. They just kind of just slapped it in there just for extra content. But in the end, when I finished this game, did it make me want to play a sequel because I saw there was a second game of it? No, it really didn't. Now I know that there's a reason why I've never paid for those hidden object games like on my Mac. I've always got them and started playing them, and then got to a certain point it says, oh yeah, now buy the full version. And I always think like, oh no, I don't want to pay for it, but I always kind of enjoyed the hidden object things. But it's mainly boring when you're trying to add anything but finding objects, really. Just let me just find the objects and make it fun while I do it. Don't add all these really kind of crap, boring puzzles and this blasé kind of detective story. It was a bit like, but yeah, I couldn't find a Metacritic for this. But on Steam, it's got mostly positive reviews on Steam. What that means is I'm not too sure. It means plenty of people did kind of like it, which I'm kind of a bit amused at. There you go. When you put it into Google, a 7 out of 10 it's saying on Steam. So don't really get it. On the Google Play Store, it's got a 4.2. Clearly, people haven't played decent games. So I'm going to give this a game score of 4 out of 10, a value score of 5 out of 10. And you know what? I prefer to play this game on dock because on the hidden object sections, it's a little bit more easier really to find everything on the big screen than on handheld. So yeah, docked. Now, the 8th pickup for April was Thimbleweed Park. I paid £5.99 for this. It was 60% off. Its non-sale price was $14.99. Basically, Thimbleweed Park is a point-and-click adventure game. And the reason why I got this is because it appeared on a list. It kept on appearing on lists of when I was looking for a game like Hotel Dusk. That was on the DS. If you don't know what Hotel Dusk was, you're missing out. It was a great, fun detective game. And I really enjoyed it, and I was looking for a similar experience, gameplay-wise and story-wise, because for some reason they haven't re-released it or done a new one. But this always kept on appearing on the list, so I got it. And you know what? I really, really, really am enjoying this game. It's got really well thought out touchscreen controls in handheld. The touchscreen controls can get a little messy when trying to select different dialogue options because they're so close together. When you have multiple ones sitting there, so it does get a little bit there, but on the most part, the touchscreen controls are pretty awesome and work excellently well, and they give you a really good kind of tutorial of how they work. So it's really good. It has a great, interesting cast of characters, very well designed. The voiceovers are great. It's got beautiful pixel art, and the game is very well written and very, very funny. it's just I've been enjoying it a lot because I remember seeing this ages ago, and I was a bit like, no, but it kept coming on the list, so I got it, and you know what? I had so much fun with this game. It's really, really good, a really good story, and it's definitely one I'm gonna play to completion. So basically, this game you play these basically FBI agents, and basically there's been a murder in Thimbleweed Park, and you have to investigate it. And you're just going around this town trying to find clues and speak to all these crazy characters. But yeah, it's an awesome game. But unfortunately, it didn't really give me that Hotel Dusk experiencing I was wanting, which I think I will only ever get with Hotel Dusk on the DS, unfortunately. Hopefully someone will bring it to the Switch, but still a really enjoyable experience. Now, the Metacritic score for this game is sitting at an 82, which I think is pretty good. So, but my game score, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10 because I think this is a top-notch game. My value score is going to be a 7 out of 10. Still would have preferred to probably pay a little bit less because I'm a cheapskate. But yeah, I still think very good value for a very, very good game. Really recommend it. Now, handheld or dock, it's only one. It has to be handheld because of the touchscreen controls. When playing in docked and use a controller, it's a little bit messy because you're having to move the cursor. And yeah, I didn't really enjoy it as much, but handheld touchscreen all the way for this game. It's awesome. Now, the next pickup is Felix the Reaper. I paid £2.24 for this game, 90% off. Its non-sale price is £22.49. Now, Felix the Reaper, it's a romantic comedy about the life of death. It's a 3D shadow manipulation puzzle adventure game of dance. Basically, when you're in the game, you are Felix, who is a lovely Reaper in training for the Ministry of Death, who has a little quirk that he likes to dance. And he's in love with someone in the Ministry of Life called Betty, and he really wants to meet her. And the only way to meet her is in the mortal realm. And basically, you're in this game, and you have to basically stick to the shadows and basically put certain things into place so you can get someone dead. Really, you have to put all the right things in place so that person will die. And you know what? It's a very, very lovely game. You gotta love Felix. He's a great little chubby Reaper, and his dance moves are amazing. The level design is very good and looks very nice. The character designs are nice. Probably would have been a little better if the graphics were a little bit better, but it still looks really, really good. And this is another game where I feel like it would have been perfect for some touchscreen controls, but for some reason it doesn't have it, which is a massive shame. But the Joy-Con controls work very well, but the touchscreen control support is forgotten again. It's just a shame. It's got an excellent voiceover work from the great Sir Patrick Stewart, so you can't go wrong there. It's a very challenging game as it progresses. It starts off quite simple and you're like, oh, this is easy, but no, it gets harder and harder and harder, especially because you can just get through the level, and then once you're done, you get a little report card, and basically it gives you all these things so you can get basically a better score, really. So, you know, the amount of moves, how many times you moved, the shadows of the sun, this and that, your time. So you can do all that stuff to try and get a better
card really. I'm not sure what you get if you get full marks on everything, but yeah, it is pretty hard, especially when you're trying to go for the timer, because you're really going through it. The one thing that probably did a little bug me really for this game is you basically have this little light as your cursor to select where he goes, really, and sometimes I do feel like it gets lost and you're trying to find it, really, and because you're like, oh, where's my marker gone? Where's my marker gone? And then it appears after a couple of moving. That is probably one of the main things I probably was a little bit annoyed about this game, about always getting lost. But yeah, you know what? You have to love Felix. He's a very much a lovable character, and just seeing him prance and dance around the levels is a really lovely sight to see. Now, the Metacritic for this game is at 67, so it's at above medium, kind of average kind of review scores. My game score, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, so it kind of sits in that bracket as well. My value score is going to be a 7 out of 10 as well. Now, handheld or docked, well, I'm not too sure really, because it kind of plays pretty good on both, and probably has a little bit of a nice boost. I felt like when it was sitting in docked really, so maybe I'm going to go with docked mode for it really. Just because you get a little bit of a nice boost, and it kind of plays nice in handheld or in the Pro Controller. So, you know what? I'm going to go both handheld and docked. I'm going to be greedy again. Now, my 10th pickup for April was a Jotun. Oh, it's probably Jotun Valhalla edition. I paid £2.74 for this. That's 75% off. Its non-sale price was £10.99. Basically, it's probably Jotun. Really, is an action adventure game, and it's basically it's the story follows this Thora, who's a deceased Viking lady, and you've basically been brought back to life, and you have to go and fight a bunch of Norse giants, really, and that's it, really. That's it. You have to go around and just do that, and you know what? This has got some of the most amazing hand-drawn graphics I have seen. It really brings me back to that kind of those animations, those cartoons of like the 70s, 80s, a bit like the old Lord of the Rings cartoon. It has that similar feel, but they just look amazing. Like the boss battles are truly a battle against giants. They are challenging, and they just look absolutely stunning. The controls are simple and easy to get a hang of. The combat is simple, just basically 2 attack buttons, a standard attack button, a special. Really, basically you hold it down, it does a more powerful hit, and then a roll, and then you have like a special. It can either a power, which can be either healing or a certain attack, but you unlock more. Basically, they've got abilities, and you unlock more as you go along. With you kind of meet more gods, and you get given more specials. But the combat itself is pretty slow, and there's no way of really pulling together any combos. So literally, you are hitting 2 times, or maybe 1 heavy strike, and then quickly scuttling away, trying to not get hit. It feels like it kind of teaches you a little bit about Norse mythology, but it's a tough game, and you will die quite a bit. And this game, from what I've played so far, it does feel a little bit empty when you're kind of going through a level, because there really isn't those many enemies to kind of fight in a way. It's not like you're trying to take on hordes of
animals, like creatures and stuff, you'll come across enemies which you've got to fight, but there isn't like that much, so it feels slightly empty. But it's an amazing little world they've made. It does just look absolutely stunning. You have to really look at it because it just looks beautiful. It doesn't do it any justice. Now, when you look at the Metacritic for this game, it's sitting at a 74, which, you know what, I think it's, even I think this looks amazing, it is a little bit slow to kind of get through, and the combat is very slow. But like, if I was just to give this score on like on the hand drawn art style and the kind of the enemies, it would be like a 10 out of 10. But an overall game, score, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I'm going to give it a value score of 7 out of 10 as well. So fairly kind of above average all round. Now, handheld or docked. Now I prefer to play this undocked because looking at the bosses, they just look amazing on the big screen, and I feel like it kind of controls a little bit better when you're using a pro controller. So I kind of preferred it. I feel like I had better control when fighting, and I wasn't kind of messing up as much. But yeah, fun game to look at, and it's just great art style. We're nearly there, just 2 more to go. So the next pickup is Crossing Souls. I paid £3.37 for this. It was 75% off. Its non-sale price was $13.49. Crossing Souls is an action-adventure game set in the 80s, so you can't go wrong there. And this was another game that Special Reserve Games was doing a physical of, and I was tempted because I love the box art, and you can just tell box art looks amazing. There's another game with great pixel art style. The characters are well animated. It has these amazing animated cutscenes which really feel like they're like the look of them and look like they're from the 80s. They've just done very, very well. The controls work well for the most part anyway. The only problem I probably was a little bit annoyed with is you basically you basically get a group of kids and you basically have to go fight the undead in a way. I'm not going to tell you too much of the story, but it is a very fun game, and you have to deal with souls, hence the name Crossing Souls. And you've got all these characters, and you can go through them, but it's only the one button. So if you get one way, but you want to go back to a character you just you cycled through, you have to go through them all again. So that was the only thing I felt annoying, really, as of having to press it a couple more times to get back to the person that I want. But yeah, that's the only thing with the controls. The combat is simple but effective. It works very well and very fun. Basically, you got to love it's the 80s setting. Really, it's really good. Another thing I wasn't a big fan is the soundtrack. See where there's like nice 80s vibe in certain areas, and then in a load of other areas it's some like annoying, overly dramatic, kind of cheesy garbage. It's hard to really describe it. It seems like they should have gone to stick with more of a kind of 80s cool synth kind of wave vibe. It would have been much better that way. Yeah. Also, another thing that really bugged me slightly, no map. So I kind of get no sense of direction of where I need to go. You kind of like, at the start you're walking around the town, it's kind of a little bit like aimlessly just wander around really until you really speak to someone and they kind of really point you in the direction of where you need to go. But when you figure it out, they're gonna game set you on like a
simplish path in a way of how you need to get there. But yeah, it was a bit annoying that there's no real map really, or kind of any kind of directional arrows kind of tell you where to go. Some of the conversations, because there's a lot of dialogue in this game, and some of the conversations when you speak to people, or the conversations you get in, they just feel like some of it like drags on for a little bit too long. Really, it does. Like you're kind of like, all right, you think it's going to end, and then there's another like 5 to 10 dialogue boxes of it. So it's a bit like, oh, all right, I thought this was it. But yeah, it's a nice game, but it's not a great game. It's quite fun. It's very nice and visually nice to look at, but it's lacking certain meat, let's put it that way, to it. But it is a game, and I feel like the score I feel like I'm going to give it is, I don't feel like it can give it justice really, because I played for it, and when I was originally playing for it, I wasn't really enjoying it that much. But as I started playing more of it, I started to enjoy more of it. So I feel like I'm going to up the score slightly. So when I look at the Metacritic, it's sitting at 67 on Metacritic, and I was originally going to go over 6.5, but I'm going to bump it up to a game score of 7 out of 10. And also I'm going to give my value score as another 7 out of 10 for this game, because I feel like I'm getting a bit of value for it. You know what? Screw that. I'm going to bump the value score, because I bumped the game score. I'm going to bump the value score down to 6.5 out of 10, just to make up for that. Now, handheld or docked. You know what? I thought this was going to be another game which wasn't going to look too great and docked on a really big screen. I was wrong. It looks great and plays great on both, really. So handheld and docked. Now, my last game, my 12th pickup for April was Beat Cop. I bought this for £2 and 2 pence. It was 85% off. Non-sale price of $13.49. Basically, Beat Cop, you play a detective who's been pushed down to a beat cop while you're being investigated by internal affairs for a robbery at a certain house where you've kind of basically been framed for a murder. It's an amazing pixel art style game. It's a little kind of like, it's very like a very stylish adventure game really. Basically it's set in the 80s, and you're this regular beat cop and you have to find out who did it really. It's got quite a good kind of story going on, and it's a lot of kind of like dark humour with your dialogue of speaking to people. So basically you're on the streets and you have to basically go around and do your beat, which is little streets. So you go into shops, arrest criminals, give out parking tickets, violations and this and that. It's a little bit of like a time management style game in a way, because you've got a certain amount of time and you're trying to do these things within that time limit on your beat. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this game really. It's like the style of game where you thought it wouldn't look good on a big screen as well, but it actually looks great handheld and undocked on the TV. That was actually quite a surprising thing. And the gameplay is very fun. There's lots of interactions with people on your beat, whether it might be the mafia or certain gangs. And you know what? You would never think checking tyres and a parking timer to give a ticket would actually be that fun, but it is, because you're trying to get as many tickets and tow many as cars as possible to meet your quota. It's got a good solid soundtrack, good sound effects that accompany the game. As I said, the story is quite solid. I'm on to like day 7 because it's going by days. Yeah, it's actually kind of really unfolding as you go along, and it's nice. It's a really fun game, much better than I originally expected. I wasn't expecting anything great, so I was actually quite surprised. It's got a Metacritic score of 70, which, you know what, that's pretty good. It's above average, but you know what, I've enjoyed it quite a bit, really. So I'm going to give a game score of 8 out of 10, and my value score is going to be an 8 out of 10. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. It's going to be a game I'm going to finish all the way through. Now, handheld or docked, I'm going to say both. It looks great and plays great on both. Whether you're playing handheld with the Joy-Cons or with a Pro Controller, it's really, really good, and I can't really distinguish what I prefer. Well, no, yeah, sometimes I thought I preferred playing it on dock, sometimes I thought I prefer playing it on handheld, but I wasn't too sure. But it plays good on it all. Now I've reviewed all my pickups for April. I spent a total of £37.56. The total non-sale price was £187.88. So I saved in total £150 and 32 pence. Why can't I say that right? Anyway, I did. It was in total about 80% off. I feel like I got a pretty good amount of savings for April, so I'm pretty happy. You know, there are some games where I probably would have preferred to maybe got for a little bit less, but I think all in all, I got a pretty good deal. I got mainly above average games. The only real one I was disappointed was the hidden object game, the Family Mysteries, whatever it was. I'm going to delete that straight off my Switch as soon as this video is done. That was one game I do not ever want to relive or see on the Switch. But yeah, really, really good games. Really enjoying it. You know, I've downloaded a couple more for May. You know, I was wanting to get this video out a little bit earlier, but didn't really happen whatsoever. But what can you do? I only can go as quick as I can. But yeah, got some good ones. So alright, let's end this video up here. If you can like and subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome. If you've got any deals you picked up and want to let me know what you thought was a good deal for what you got, let me know in the comments. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Look after yourselves. Goodbye.